I kind of tell the actors, I let them know, when you go to the next movie will suck because you're going to go back to business as usual.
There you go.
That's why she's famous. That's why she's on your show?
Yes.
That's what Hawk Tuah means?
Why? Getting an idea for a movie? I never am mad at being old when it's like the 60s or 70s and you're talking about things and we're talking about stuff when we were a kid. I get it that those should be deep in the past. I just get pissed off about the 90s. It seems like it was yesterday, or it should be. Mm-hmm. And to, anyone under 30, it's like...
Well,
and that's the era we cut our teeth in.
Well, but there's a weird thing about, okay. Well, it was so funny because especially me and my whole kind of generation of film people, we've thought about, idolized the 70s as this special time in cinema. And then we had to live through the 80s, which was a reaction to the 70s.
Right.
And that's where the whole term political correctness came about, is in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it was really, really repressive. I deal with it in the book. But the pendulum got so oppressive and got so far over to here that eventually it had to come the other way. And I helped change the 90s cinematically, as far as that was concerned, getting out of that repressiveness for a period, almost a good 10 years. Okay, well, here's the thing, though. It's only in retrospect that I can see that quite as clearly as it is. When we were living through the 90s, it didn't seem like the 70s part two. It seemed like things were a hell of a lot better than the 80s, but we still had to fight for everything.
And it was still way too commercialized, everything.
Yeah.
That's why I'm giving...
But now it really seems like, no, that was the 70s part two.
Yeah, but all you have to do to understand how weightless the 90s really was is look at the documentary about Woodstock 99.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
This is where we were with the youth in 99.
Yeah.
It's not...
I've seen that actually documentary.
It's not cool. And it's so not 1969.
Yeah, right on.
When the first Woodstock took place. This was, first of all, it was like really rapey.
Yeah, oh no. That ended up being
like metal bands and Limp Bizkit. Not to knock Limp Bizkit, they were huge, but like the crowd was very sort of...
No. You didn't go to Cal Jam, all right? To respect women.
Right. But I feel like they respected them much more in 1969.
But that's not Cal Jam, all right? That's not all the festivals that have come in the wake, and in the 80s, headlined by Aerosmith and Ted Nugent.
Right. I'm just saying every generation gets worse.
Yeah.
It's not like there's ever this sort of bounce back. It's like we keep going down until we're going to hit bottom. I always say it, until we have the scene where the Statue of Liberty's arm is seen sticking out of the sand, right? Until it gets to that point, the Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Yeah, of course I know. So, until we have that scene and get to the bottom, we will not come back. I mean, sometimes you have to hit bottom. I don't think where this country is heading, like spiritually, sort of like emotionally, like readiness, money-wise, we're always doing well. No matter what happens, there's one thing this fucking country can do. It's make money.
Yeah.
And have people who want to make money. And yes, it's unkind to the losers more than countries with bigger safety nets.
Yeah.
Even though we still do have an enormous safety net, but somehow a lot...
Well, there was a thing... There was a particular aspect to me becoming kind of famous from the first movie Reservoir Dogs more than a normal director of a young independent film.
I read the transcript of our first one, so I wouldn't repeat myself, and I kept calling you a rock star director, but that's what you were. You were a rock star director.
But
that was rare.
But one of the reasons, though, that I did have a really interesting story, but it was a particular story that it was something to talk about. Was I was this kid who worked at a video store, and then eventually I got a movie going. But everybody knew a kid who worked at a video store. Everybody went to video stores, and there were always a bunch of cool kids that worked there, and everyone had a connection with that, And so there was that. But the thing was, even with some like kind of dyed-in-the-wool hippies that I knew growing up, even like the guy who started Video Archives, the guy Lance. All right, he was like told very like hippie kind of guy. He had a really wonderful kind of '60s influence, and he was an important guy in my life early on. And even he was sort of like, "Wow, Quentin, your story really kind of is the American dream." Because you didn't go to college, you didn't go to schooling. It was just you wrote a script that was good enough to be made.
And had somewhat of a hard scrabble youth.
I absolutely did. But the thing was, I didn't get it through the class system. I didn't get it through education. I showed that I could do the job, and I got it, and I was able to do it. And so it's one thing for an American to say that was like part of the American dream, but when I went to England, it was even a bigger deal. But part of the bigger deal was there was this whole thing of the industry thinking, could a guy in England do this? I don't think so. No, he would have had to have come to the BBC. He would have had to have had a professional job somewhere along the line. He would have had to have worked at the BBC
even
at
in the
some
90s?
point. Yeah, at some point. And he had to have gone to university.
Not now. I mean, England's very different now.
Well, now you can just make it with an iPhone, but I'm talking about a professional movie.
No, I understand.
Yeah. But then I am talking about 90. I'm talking about then. I'm talking about 91.
No, England. I mean, if people don't know, England, in this century, sort of became like America. But in the last decades of the 20th century, I mean, the first time I went to England, they had 2 TV channels.
Yeah.
And there was what was on at night. Nothing that like we would recognize as an entertainment show, like a documentary on fucking lawns, and then like the prime minister talk. I mean, it was like just for education.
Oh no! It's
amazing.
I'm simply talking about the idea, though, that they still kind of came from the idea that somebody had to come up through university, somebody had to work their way through the BBC system.
It was very different and very classist. I mean, the people are always complaining about nothing ever changes. Well, like Andrew Sullivan pointed out, London was a city with a minority population of under like 30% 40 years ago, and now it's like 80%.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is not to complain about it.
Yeah.
Just saying things change. And this, I mean, I just watched the Olympics. Like, there's no country in the world except fucking Russia, which is why the Republicans love it, that doesn't have black people. Like Poland, and here's it's a black guy. It's like, really? Because the world is mixing up. That's a good thing. Cultural appropriation, which the fucking woke assholes think is bad, is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Who cares? We're all stealing from each other.
Well, no. I mean,
who steals more than artists?
Well, I've always just been under the impression that the goal is for everybody to look through everybody else's eyes.
Correct.
I mean, that is the goal. That's what makes you a multifaceted person. That's what gives you when people talk about layers of depth of character in people, that's what they're talking about. Is your ability to see through other people's perspectives.
And what better way to do that than to literally become the other person? That's what's so great about mixed race marriages. Like, you sort of can't be prejudiced.
Yeah.
Because, you don't want to hate your mother or your father, and you understand both.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, in the 90s, not that everything's about the 90s, but that was seen as the goal and sort of a great thing. And of course, it does happen more and more. They can't stop it, which is good. But I mean,
well, look, I think for every good-hearted, clear-minded person, that is the goal. That is obviously the goal, and that hasn't changed. It's just the message has been shifted. But I think
No, I disagree. The message has changed. There is a far left, super woke, whatever you want to call it, contingency. Robin DiAngelo, who wrote White Fragility, that's a huge book. Trust me, any actor that you hired under 30 will have read it. Next time you're casting, keep that in mind. And they might object to some of the ways that you used language in your past movies, some of these young actors. You never know. But Robin DiAngelo, Kendi, anti-racism, that whole thing. I mean, we all, again, as you say, good-hearted people. We're all
No, but
against racism.
okay, but I do think, and I think it's this situation that happens kind of similar on the right, is I do think that the more extreme big mouths in this conversation tend to take,
Totally.
But I mean,
what I'm fighting.
but that's an obvious statement. But they're doing their objective when you keep referencing them all the time. You're giving them power by referencing all the time as if they.
Excuse me.
Am I right?
No.
Well, then how am I wrong?
I'll tell you, because you're talking about the New York Times. The New York Times, which, was on my breakfast table when I was 10 years old, and I've seen it change. I mean, it's still an important newspaper, one, because it tells you how the elite of one side of the country is thinking and what's important to them. But it is a completely partisan newspaper at this point, where it did not used to be. That's the difference.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, so like, for example, they never used to put on the front page as the lead story articles that are not a story at all. In other words, it's not something that happened yesterday. That is what should go on the front page. Opinion, great, on the back page, and you can't help but put opinion in in all articles. It's part, we're only human. But to put it in the lead article, like an article about how shitty J.D. Vance is, and I'm sure he is. It's not like I don't even agree with it.
Yeah, right on.
But that's not a front page story. And then the next day, a story about the Democratic vice presidential candidate and what an awesome dude he is. And maybe he is, but like, this is not what this newspaper, in my opinion, should be doing. But they are doing it.
Well, we're not talking about the exact same thing.
No, what we're saying, what you're asking me about is why I can't argue with this, because they are important. So I have to give them that respect, and also just that reality. I can't ignore what the New York Times does, because they are that important. Now, there is a group
because
now.
I completely agree with you about that, about the bias that you're talking about, and about that, particularly your examples. All right, but I am saying that these fringe big mouths are not the norm of race think. They're just
Exactly, but it has been such an ordeal, and I must say, good news, I really feel like there is this centrist group of people, and I'm proud to be part of it and thought to be part of it, an important part of it. Barry Weiss with the Free Press, people like Sam Harris and Douglas Murray and Andrew Sullivan.
Well, and to me, Barry Weiss is like my journalistic hero.
Okay, there you go. And me too. She has done amazing things. And again, carving out this place. For too long, it was just the extreme left, you're right, and the extreme right who got all the airplay. And now there is this little group of people in the middle who are getting bigger, who are not buying into either one of their bullshit. We, I think, generally are on the same page that the right is actually more dangerous, which they actually are, but the left is so fucking obnoxious in so many ways, and so wrong about so many things.
And the tissue that holds that group together is just common sense.
Common sense, exactly.
Common sense, but from a liberal perspective. But back when there was a common sense to liberalism.
To the woke, we are conservatives, which is so annoying to me. Like, oh, you're Republican now. I'm not Republican now. Just because I don't want to get on the train with your fucking nonsense.
Now, something I remember you saying a long time ago, and you've never mentioned it again. So I'm wondering, did I hear you right, or did you actually say that?
Yes, I have 3 balls.
That in the who's the guy that the guy who ran against Clinton, the Republican,
Bob Dole.
Bob Dole. Thank you. All right, that that in that election you voted for Bob Dole.
Sentimentally, I did.
Yeah, no, you explained it. You explained it really
Yeah,
well.
Clinton was going to win, and certainly in California, he was going to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about him?
No,
Bob Dole.
no. I thought it was no. I actually thought it was sweet what you said because because you were said like no. The thing about it was I didn't think he was he wasn't in trouble. Clinton was going to win. I wanted Clinton to win, but it was a symbolic vote for the generation that represented your father.
I have to tell you,
Is that did I say it right?
No, absolutely right. Yeah, the last of the World War II generation, the greatest generation. And Bob Dole, I mean, please, compared to what the Republicans have become, he was just an old school Republican. I wish we had more of those. But I was just going through a bunch of old family stuff. I had put it in my file from years ago. I never really went through it. It's everything I have from my mother and their father. Like they passed it down to me. I'm talking about just like papers and shit. But it's like they're, stuff from the 30s and 40s when they were in the army.
Oh, wow.
And all that kind of stuff.
That stuff is awesome.
Oh, it's so awesome. Letters.
Yeah.
You see how people thought, and they wouldn't say fuck in a letter. They would literally write out all the, they do it in the comics.
Oh, yeah.
All the symbols and stuff. Like they wouldn't say fuck in a private letter.
Okay, I got to tell you.
People were just so much cooler and classier.
I read a book about a famous actor talking about another famous actor that killed himself. They were good friends. And half of the book is correspondence that they sent to each other.
Epistles.
Yeah.
An epistolary novel.
And all these characters are sending letters, these 3 characters in particular. They're all British. And, we're describing 30s, 40s, 50s, into the 60s. And I'm like, we keep thinking that we get smarter and smarter as we get older, but then you see how smart this generation was, that they could write this type of correspondence.
Right.
And and they're throwing it out to that person who they sent it to, and that's it. And that person keeps it or they doesn't keep it, but they're putting their heart and their soul into it, and it's so well written, and they so describe themselves. They don't need to be in the same room. They gave a piece of themselves to that other person on the page. It's right there, and they're not professional writers. And that was how they touched human beings. That was how it worked.
The thing in Hateful Eight with the Lincoln letter is such a great touch. Yeah. And if you ever read any of Lincoln's letters, there's a famous one that Spielberg uses in Saving Private Ryan. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Because Saving Private Ryan is about saving this guy whose other 4 brothers have already been killed. And during the Civil War, there was a lady who had 4 or 5 of her sons. Yeah. And I think they didn't even save the 5th one. And Lincoln and
I think it's the Sullivans. I think they were called the Fighting Sullivans.
No, that was World War II.
Oh, that was
the Sullivans were all on a ship, and they let's keep all the brothers off the same ship. Who thought of that? But in this one, Lincoln is writing a letter of condolence to the lady who lost 5 of her kids. Yeah. And I remember the phrase at the end because he reads it in the movie, like the solace that must be yours for having laid so costly a sacrifice on the altar of freedom. They just don't write them like that anymore. Yeah. And that's from the president directly. That's just the way he talked. I mean, people were just better.
Okay, so all of a sudden, I said, I want to start having this kind of correspondence. And I'm not going to just write it an email. I want to write it out. And, so I have a friend who kind of pissed me off about something. I hadn't really dealt with it. So I wrote this big letter, and then I go to read it to hey, can I read you, my wife, can I read you this letter to see what you think about it? You know, let me read it to you. And in the letter, I get all caught up in myself about whatever was the problem. And I start turning into one of these old British people that I've been reading about reading their letters. And if you can't see this, then I'm afraid that this is the end of this will be the end of the end of all my dealings with you from here on in. However, I will always look fondly for all the good times that we spent. However, this is an impasse that I cannot
abridge.
Yeah. And so I get through reading it to her, and she goes, "Okay, Quentin, I don't think you really feel this strongly about it. I think you just really got into writing the letter, and you wanted to make it dramatic at the end, but I don't think you wanted to just like write him out of your life."
I remember. I remember writing letters. I remember writing a similar one. I had a DUI in 1992, and my powerful management company, Brillstein Gray, got me like a lawyer who was like not the right lawyer. He was a big lawyer, like in San Francisco.
Oh yeah.
They were like, "Oh, we're gonna do you a big favor, kid, and get you this big lawyer." And I should have had like some mall lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
Who knows? So this guy like was barely on the case, and I don't think he handled it well. And then he patted himself on the back, and I didn't pay him. And I wrote him a letter instead of paying his $2,500 fee, which would have broken me at that time probably. And it was like 3 pages, just like, and you know, like, and I remember with a big flourish at the end. And I hope if you ever get a DUI, you find a different lawyer because whatever it was. And, you know, you just realize that when you're younger, you just have so much energy for bullshit.
Yeah.
And if you could have channeled it, but like the idea that I would like spend that time hacking away at my typewriter.
Oh no, I remember. No, I remember reading an interview with some actress. Refers to me in some insulting sort of way. And then I write a 3-page letter to her. Now I don't send it. All right.
Oh, you didn't send it.
I didn't send it. All right.
Who said shit about you? I'll have them thrown out of show business. An actress? An actress complaining? I've never. Easiest people in the world to work with. No, you've had some. You don't have I've never heard a bad report from your set. I mean, considering how much fucking like shooting people and like all that shit that you do, it's amazing. Amazing, no one got hurt more.
No, a thing about it is at least for the last 10 to 15 years. All right. I kind of tell the actors, I let them know, look, we're going to work hard. It's all about the movie. You have other, you know, figure you're on apocalypse. Figure this is not going to be Apocalypse Now, but figure that I'm as serious about it as Coppola was about Apocalypse Now.
Sure.
That's my level of commitment.
Right. We're gonna give the leading man a heart attack.
Okay. But you're going to have the best time on this movie that you've ever had.
There you go.
And when you go to the next movie will suck.
Right.
Because you're going to go back to business as usual.
There you go. That's how you do it. No, I agree.
You know, and it's like, it's going to, when you go back to the real world, it's going to fucking suck because our world is fucking great.
You look good. You look healthy. You know.
Well, look.
You look.
I didn't want to say it, but what I was thinking is like, you've been saying it for a while. And I realized, what is that you keep putting into it?
I'm roofing myself. It's Jing. It's like it makes diet soda chemical free.
Oh, okay, cool.
You want some?
No, I'm good.
Boy, am I a salesman or what? The way I brought him right around. What about Kent's? Would you like to step up to the smooth, refreshing flavor of a Kent?
Of a menthol Kent.
What a shitty name for a cigarette.
I know.
You know-
I really have felt that because I watch a bunch of TV cigarette ads. I go, who wants a Kent?
You know what my mother smoked?
What?
Until the day she died almost? L&M.
L&M.
And that was a serious World War II cigarette.
Yeah.
I mean, and she was in World War II. But like to smoke L&M, I mean, wow. That was like...
That's brand loyalty. That's real brand loyalty.
I came across in those papers.
But I do think that there was no. I don't want you to. I'm not squashing what you were saying.
No, I don't care. It doesn't matter.
But I do think that 30s, 40s, 50s person, they really identified by the brand that they smoked. That told you who they were. And that was half the commercial, was so you could say that you smoked a Kent and like feel cool about smoking a Kent.
I mean, including the brand of performer they liked. I mean, they grew up with Sinatra.
Yeah.
That was their guy. And they grew up with Bob Hope.
Mm-hmm.
And
Bing Crosby.
Yeah, but Bing Crosby didn't like become political. In the 80s, like Reagan came in office and Sinatra and Bob Hope were both like conservative.
Yeah.
And they didn't used to be.
They were like major liberals. Major liberals.
I don't know if they were liberals, but they were.
No.
But they certainly weren't.
Sinatra was.
Yes, you're right.
Sinatra was.
Yes, he was. He was very...
Well, the story is he was disrespected by the Kennedy family after everything he had done for the Kennedy family.
Well, that's true.
And that opened up an avenue for him too.
Well, what the story is, and I think it's true, I don't think it's even a story anymore, is that Kennedy was going to stay at his Palm Springs compound as sort of like the winter White House, that kind of thing. And so Frank...
Because of his mob connections.
Frank had the Palm Springs compound all outrigged so it was security friendly for the Secret Service and all that. And then, yes, they got nervous about the mob connections and said, sorry, Frank, the president will not be coming after all. And, the 1960 election, was it very possibly thrown by the actions of Mr. Sam Giancana in Chicago?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not like it's above the Democrats to do that kind of shit too. And they may, the things is that people were different in those days. Nixon, for all his bullshit, was patriotic enough to just fucking swallow it the same way Al Gore did in 2000 when that election was disputed and say, you know what, this hurts bad, but the country's more important.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to take one for the team. And Nixon could have contested that election. It was much closer than the one Trump thinks he won in 2020, which, as even Mitch McConnell said, was not an especially close election.
Yeah.
And every agency we have that monitors elections said it was free and fair. In fact, the best run we've ever done was in 2000.
Let me ask you a question.
2020.
Let me ask you a question. I know how you feel about Trump.
Love him. I've changed. You haven't talked to me. All MAGA. I'm all in on all MAGA. I've got the merch. I've got the fucking red hat.
Is there...
I'm punching people.
Is there... After his reaction to the assassination, did you change your mind about him, at least as far as that moment was concerned?
First of all, it's just, I did not change, but I was just more confirmed that he is the luckiest motherfucker in the world because, I can't even deal with the people who say it was staged.
Oh, forget about that.
I know,
That's
but
not
I'm
what
just,
I'm asking.
I
But
know,
don't
no,
get confused about
but
that.
just to have the presence of mind in that moment to pop up and play the scene exactly as it should be played. It's sort of like you ever see
Okay. No, here's the deal. Here's the deal. I think in that regards, and I think you're not wrong, you admire that a little bit
Yes.
about it. Because like you are
Well,
the only person
well,
to actually make a point about, you can say what you want about Clint Eastwood doing the thing about the chair.
yes.
He pulled it off.
I did say that.
He pulled it off. He
Pulled it-
made the chair a thing, and he got the laughs in the room.
Yes.
And I'm a comedian, and I know what it's like to walk into a room, and that's not a happy room.
You remember
that's not
that.
a good room. That's a tough room to win.
You're right.
And he owned it.
You're right. I'm so glad you remember that. I had almost forgotten that. Right. In 2012, Clint Eastwood appeared at the Republican National Convention and did a bit with a chair.
And 6 months later, Daniel Day-Lewis does a bit with a chair. It says he was inspired by Clint Eastwood.
Oh,
he goes,
really?
that was too good of a thing. He came up with too good of an idea.
Where was that? I'm not
It
aware.
was at an award show. He took he did it as a parody, but no, he actually was inspired by the idea.
And he said this is an homage?
Yes.
That's great. Because Daniel Day-Lewis doesn't usually do prop comedy.
He's not a prop comedy. No, that is an actor who saw something exciting in what somebody else did.
I see.
Put an invisible person in the chair?
Right.
That's a great idea. Dramatically, that's a great idea.
Well, I mean, I would love to go back and look at it because, again, this is going back 12 years and I don't remember it. But obviously, he was at the Republican convention. It was some sort of straw man bit where he was talking to this straw man in the chair who was, maybe it was.
Well, okay.
I mean.
No, well, it's one of it's the best chapter in the that book about leading up to that election. All right, the Obama Romney election is by those two guys, Jonathan Hyman and the other guy.
Jonathan Hyman, who's that?
You know, the guys who wrote the book about the Obama Romney election.
Okay, I don't know a book. I mean, I remember the
Jonathan
election.
Hyman, you know, the famous guy, the bald guy who has the Wu-Tang Clan thing on his laptop.
No, I thought that was Martin Shkreli. I thought he bought that Wu-Tang. Didn't he buy that Wu-Tang album for like $1 million that was never released?
No, I'm talking. You know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the two famous political journalists that did the book about the Obama Romney election.
Okay, so what about the election? I mean, we're talking about 2012.
Yeah,
I remember it. I remember.
But you know who these guys are? They're real famous.
Okay. So what about them?
And one of them got canceled. Mark Halperin.
Oh, Mark Halperin, of course.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the book they wrote.
Well, Mark Halperin got canceled because apparently his MO was to get an erection and rub it up against women around the office. Like, you know, like you're literally at the coffee machine. You're reaching for the sweet and low, and there's a fucking flashlight in your ass. That's what he got canceled for. So, you know, I think a lot of the people who got canceled, sometimes it was a little crazy. But other guys, I'm so glad they're off the map because, like, every woman looks at every guy like you're that guy. And, you know, some of us are not that guy and never wanted to be that guy and never would be that guy. But we kind of have to, like, wear that. I mean, I'm sure on movie sets, it's even more pronounced.
It's probably, like, drastically more pronounced.
They have.
Okay, but hold it though.
They have these.
But couldn't that guy just be schooled?
You mean hit his dick with a ruler when he does it at the coffee
No,
machine?
no, I
Yeah, I
mean
guess you
about
could.
like, you know what?
But
No, you described it in a very perfect way. All right. No, no.
it's
So it's like,
it's just
okay, so you're really talented and you're really good at what you do.
right. But you rub your
And
dick
this,
on people.
no, and this is really creepy and this is abhorrent. But now we're telling you that it's so noticeable that we're having a talk with you about it.
I feel like this one is just past that. I just feel like if you ever even tried this or did this, or even if, like,
Okay, okay. So giving. Okay, so
I,
you've talked about
it's not right.
giving the. You've talked about the office
Yes,
guy that gives the girl the massage.
I have.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
a fan.
you mean
All
you
right.
mean Raoul? Yeah. No,
No.
I understand. Right. The creepy neck rub. Well, like this
Okay,
is
so does that guy deserve to be canceled?
no,
And he
no,
can't have his job?
no. But what we have to do is tell these guys, like, I won't say the person, but like I've seen this story many times where someone is accused, someone who's on a set, TV shows, movies,
Why
whatever,
did you just
and
like jump out of your seat?
okay,
I'm
you're right.
talking to you, and you're all of a
I
sudden you
know,
jumped out of your seat.
You're right.
As if it was in italics.
I can't deny that. That was like I don't know for what reason that was overly. You're so right. That was overly physically emphasized by me on a set. Like, so what? Like, yeah, but like on a set, it's true, and they have been accused of like too friendly, and the excuse coming back is I'm a hugger. Okay, I've got a simple solution to this problem. If somebody hugs you first, you can be a hugger back. But if they don't hug you first, then you don't be a hugger. It's so simple. And I feel like this is a subcategory of that. You should know
I would
women.
agree with that theoretically, but again, also you're talking about artistic people, and it's
Well,
hard to.
not Mark Halpern. I don't think he's an artistic person. Yeah, he was a
That's a decision on your part.
he was a a political reporter. I think
No, you actually described the perfect situation where, if that were the case, that he got himself hard in order to rub against the girl in the coffee clutch.
coffee station.
If that were the case, well, yeah, that would be pretty fucking damning evidence against him.
I feel like
all right, but I don't think.
Yes, there was. I think there was many women who had the same story, and it was the
Okay, but okay.
well,
okay,
there's
okay,
no but.
okay, well, no, hold but. Well, I'll say the but.
Okay, the only but.
Can I offer a but?
No, the only but.
There is a but if I want to offer it.
The only but is the butt he's rubbing his dick up against.
Ha boom, boom. Okay. Another but is in today's world where it's all about writing from your home, and doesn't he have a whole lot to say about political issues going on right now?
I don't ever think that he was someone whose opinion was indispensable.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I actually think that those two guys together were a major force at the time. And I really mean that. They were, and they had this punk rock kind of sensibility about them.
Oh, I mean, that to me is a charitable remembering of them. But that you could be right. I would go back, and maybe he was way more talented. Maybe this was a great loss.
No, Jonathan Hyman is more the punk rock guy, but they were a team, and they were like a legit team.
Yes, they were. And maybe this is a great loss, not just for journalism, but for ass cracks everywhere. That will be denied his erection. But I don't know, this one I can't get by. Maybe it's irrational. Maybe people have done things worse. I'm sure they have, but I just can't get past this one. It's just like a dog with a throw pillow. It's just so wrong to like rub your dick against people. It's just beyond.
Okay.
I can't even.
Can I propose one thing that doesn't excuse it?
I can't believe we're
paints
dug in on our arguments about this.
Paints paints a scenario that you can understand where the painting sits.
Say that again?
No, I'll explain it. Well, again, I'm stoned, so I keep making points
No
and
one would
losing.
ever know.
Thank you. No, I've lost it. See, anything that you can shut me down if you hold me for 3 thoughts more, all right? Because 2 thoughts more, I'm okay. I can make my point. 3 thoughts more, I lose it.
I feel like we're so past pointing.
I agree.
Like, why do we even need a point at this point? First of all, I just feel like I wish I could have this feeling more times a year than I get to do it. I mean, I don't get too high that often, and very often the guest doesn't smoke at all or want to get high with me. There's just something about being high with someone who you're on the same level with. I feel like we can talk like on the same level.
No,
It's
we're
just
absolutely
such a
talking.
pleasure. It's
What
just
a nice thing to say,
no,
Bill.
but it
Thank you
is.
so much,
It's
mate.
like there's not that many pure pleasures in life. Sex is certainly one, but the other great one is mental ping pong and conversation. You know, like after that, it's all sort of a little bit passive. You know, like, is it great to watch a movie? Yes, but it's not as active as sex or conversation of like your mind moving. It's like, I don't know. It's just such a pleasure to do that with you.
Look, I
hope we
feel
make it a habit to do.
I feel very honored
club
that you feel
random.
that way
do.
about my side of the
You know,
conversation.
it's so. Oh, of course.
No, I'm not. No, that's not me being. No, hold it. No,
Of
that's
course.
not me
No.
being.
You are the perfect tennis partner. I hit it over the net. You hit it over the net. I mean, not everybody.
But I've seen you
not
do
everybody
that.
hits it over the net.
I've seen
you
you do that with a few people.
Yeah,
so
I love everybody, and I can talk to anybody. I mean, the Hawk Tuah girl was here last week. Okay, we're not.
I watched that whole thing. I don't know who she is, so I keep waiting for you to explain to me who she is, and that never happened.
Oh boy.
I explained for you to explain to me, this old fuck, who she is, and that never, ever happened.
Well, it's going to happen right now. She was interviewed by these people who go around and ask girls who come out of clubs what they do sexually. And she said that when you're giving a blowjob, you can't forget to spit on that dick. So she's now the girl. And
that's why she's famous. That's why she's on your show?
Yes. It blew up like nothing ever on the internet. So I was trying.
That's what Hawk Tuah means?
Hawk Tuah, yes. Why? Getting an idea for a movie?
No, I just had no. I assumed that there was a song connected to it. I assumed there was. I didn't.
There is no.
No, I mean.
There is no.
You blew my fucking mind.
There's no.
That is what.
No, there is no.
She earned a seat at your chair.
Absolutely.
For bragging about spitting on a dick.
Exactly, and there is no song connected to it, and there is also no movie yet. I'm just saying, as a MacGuffin to start a movie, spitting on a dick could get worse, okay?
Yes.
I'm telling you, as something that starts the plot in motion. Okay, they spit on a dick, now they're on a train.
I assumed whatever she did was trivial.
No, I mean...
I didn't realize how trivial it was. No, I mean, the level of what I didn't realize how trivial it was.
It is quite a comment on our society as we exist here in the summer of 2024, that the thing that captures people's imaginations to the point where I did not even think I had to explain it because it was so ubiquitous, is the Hawk Tuah. And I tried to counsel her in a fatherly way and say, you want to...
And you sounded like the most, like...
Oh, no.
No, you sounded like a dick. You sounded like the most out of it dick because I don't know what her claim to fame is. I'm actually thinking she's done something legitimate.
Well, I was trying to tell her that she needs to morph into something legitimate, but she seems to be more
Actually, she was actually kind of pretty happy about who she was, where she was.
She's absolutely adorable. But we don't want her to be back at the Spring Factory, and we don't want her to be known as the Hawk Tuah girl. We want her
We
to.
don't?
No.
Why don't we?
Because I'm her
Why don't we?
Because I'm her daddy, and I want what's best for her. And what's best for her is to be known as Haley. She's Haley. She's not the spit on the dick girl. Sure, you can start out as a spit on the dick person. Look at Kim Kardashian. Started out spitting on a dick, and now she's a billionaire.
Well, that's a pretty high bar if you're using Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian.
That started out as a sex tape. So did Paris Hilton, A Night in Paris.
Paris Hilton actually became legit.
And so did the Kardashians. The Kardashians are the...
Is the spit in the dick girl going to be legit?
Well, I was trying to tell her.
You're trying to help her.
Exactly. I was trying to tell her that is at least the direction we need to be going in. We don't want to be the Hawk Tuah.
And after 90 minutes with her, what did you think?
No. She's happy being the Hawk Tuah girl. I was wasting my time, and you know what?
By the way, that was into the first 15 minutes, and I didn't know who the Hawk Tuah girl was. I was like, whoa, she actually seems to be pretty cool with who she is.
She's very cool. I mean, she's a sweet 22-year-old girl from Tennessee, I think. Tennessee or Kentucky.
That's why I liked her. She's from Tennessee.
No, she's very, very sweet. And okay, all right, let's go to dinner. You want to?
I love the idea.
Yeah, let's do it. All right.
If we want to come back, I'm cool.
Great.
Club Random.
And your Cuban Billy Joel boots?
You think?
Club Random.